Interpreting your MotoE plyometric assessment numbers. Thank you so much for taking the time to do the assessment. I hope you were able to identify what exercises are really strong for you and what exercises are really weak for you. Now what I want to do is help you interpret what that information means in regards to those straight exercises. And I want you to do a few calculations. You're going to need two things. You're going to need a calculator and you're going to need you're going to need your plyometric assessment with all of your data, number of reps, etc. And you're going to do a couple things. Number one, I want you to write at the very top of your testing sheet, what was your body weight the day of your test? Second thing you're going to do is you're going to take your calculator, and if you look at, let's take jump rope for example. You have set 1, 2, and 3 and it gave you a total. What I want you to do is I want you to take your total number of skips on your jump rope and multiply it times your body weight. It's going to give you an idea of how much weight you lifted in 90 seconds. And you're going to do that for every exercise where it's applicable. Pull-ups, anything that involves you lifting your body weight, box hops. Okay? Now, what that's going to give you is the day that you did the test, you had a certain body weight and you were able to implement and complete X amount of repetitions. What I want you to now do is keep that information at your fingertips, because the next time you come back and test, what we're going to ask you is, did you lift more weight? I'm going to do a separate video about strength to weight ratios, but for what we're talking about today, what I want you to think about is, the goal is to determine, this is your baseline assessment. Your goal is, how much weight did I lift in box hops, pull-ups, skips, jump rope? Okay, think about that. The key that we're going to be looking at is sometimes people think that if they're lighter, that they're going to be stronger. Not always. And we're going to talk about that, as I said, on a future video. But for the assessment purposes, I want you to have a quantified number for each one of these. Now the ones like static wall squat, obviously you can't, it's not like you're going to put a minute against 150 pounds. Okay? But the ones where you can do the calculations, I want you to write that down. One extra thing that I would encourage you to do if you're willing to do so, it's what we call standard deviation. Let's take jump rope for example. By standard deviation, what I'm looking for is I want you to take your best number and I want you to subtract your smallest number, your weakest number. Let's take jump rope. Let's say you did 25 was your best out of the 3 sets, and let's say 20 was your lowest number out of the 3 sets. You obviously have a deviation of 5. You take your biggest number, subtract your smallest, and you have a deviation. Go through every single exercise and figure out what your deviation was. And what we're going to do is, when the next time we go through this test, this is what your goal is. Your goal is to have that deviation be as small as possible, and then to have your sum total be bigger. Why is that relevant to you as a motocross racer? Very simple. It doesn't do you any good to go out and run a 2-minute lap time on your opening lap only to fade to a 2:18. You all know that, you all dread it, we all do everything we can to avoid it, but the problem is if you train in the gym that everything is about exploding to the point of blowing up, you've trained yourself to do the same thing on the racetrack. I want you to kind of create a paradigm shift in your brain. Start the workout and get stronger as you go. I want you to start your race feeling good and get faster as you go, not blow up and go backwards. That completely undermines, and it feels horrible. Nothing is worse than you're trying harder, you feel wet, you feel bad, you feel weak, you're going backwards, and people are going by you, and you keep trying harder, and you just keep making more mistakes, and you just keep going backwards, and they're going forward. Now you threw anchor, late moto fatigue, all the negative words that are thrown your way. How would you avoid that? Train yourself not to allow that to happen. So when you look at your plyometric numbers, look at your sum total, look at your deviation, and look at the total amount of weight that you lifted in 90 seconds. The next time we do this test, I'm going to encourage you to not look at your numbers before your test. We get into the psychological aspects of it. We'll talk about that in another video. But what you're going to do is you're now going to say, okay, on X date, I was 150 pounds and I did X amount of box hops. My deviation was X. The total amount of pounds that I lifted was Y. Now we go train. That's what you're going to see in the next round of videos that we send out in the schedules that we send you. You're going to train your muscular strength your muscular endurance, and your lactate tolerance. We're going to come back and do these exact same exercises in the exact same order. You'll be able to compare apples to apples and make sure that you're improving. So again, thank you for taking the test. Thank you for taking the time to go through these calculations. You now have a good blueprint as to where your strength, your endurance, and your lactate tolerance is. Now we're going to get ready to go train and improve that over the next 4 weeks, and then we'll come back and test. So if you have any questions, please feel free to email me. My email address is Robb, R-O-B-B, the number 3, @earthlink.net. And I want to thank you for watching the video, and thank you for taking the test.